It is a spooky season episode of The Frieze. The Yankees are talking to coaches, trying to round out their coaching staff. Could Buck Showalter be an option for bench coach? Next, the Yankees are sticking with Aaron Hicks. What does that mean for center field? We also learned that Anthony Rizzo wants to come back to New York next season. What will it cost and how many years should the Yankees go? Finally, Corey Seager could be the Yankees' next shortstop, but is he worth $300 million? I'm Derek. This is The Frieze. Stick around. The Yankees have yet to fill any of their vacant coaching roles since opting not to renew the contracts of several members of their 2021 coaching staff. One scenario that's been mentioned is that the Yankees would like to bring in a bench coach, basically the assistant manager role that is the yin to Aaron Boone's yang, quote-unquote. In other words, a guy who's a bit of the bad cop in the good cop, bad cop scenario, a disciplinarian. Michael Kay suggested Buck Showalter would be a good fit for this role if the Yankees were to consider him, and if Buck Showalter were to consider that idea. I love the idea personally. Not only would Buck Showalter provide the needed contrasting temperament from Aaron Boone, but he's known to be more of a gut manager, so maybe he can provide some good advice in the game, things that he's seeing that maybe Aaron Boone doesn't notice. And I love the fact that he's managed the Yankees before. He's managed the Yankees to the playoffs before. He was part of the beginning of the dynasty. He was part of that group that curated the young talent that came up and became the late 90s dynasty. And as Michael Kay pointed out, it would be akin to when Joe Torre had Don Zimmer as his bench coach. Zimmer was a trusted voice with 50 years of baseball experience that could give Joe Torre feedback on decisions throughout the game and in the clubhouse. And while Joe Torre was pretty much a Zen manager himself while the game was going on, not a lot of reactions out of him, didn't show much emotion in the dugout, Zimmer was outspoken, he was wild and rambunctious, he went at Pedro Martinez. I think having a mix of Boone and Showalter is a best case scenario. Two different personalities, two different managing types. According to Yankees beat writer for MLB.com, Brian Hoke, the Yankees are committed and trust Aaron Hicks in center field for 2022. I know this makes a lot of you nervous. It makes me nervous as well. Aaron Hicks was a very good player back in 2018. He posted an .833 OPS. He was good on defense. He hit 27 home runs. He was a threat from both sides of the plate. But 2018 was a long time ago. I don't blame Yankees fans that are a little bit nauseated by this move, or lack thereof, I should say this news. But it's something that we all kind of expected on some minor level, as much as we want to dream about them bringing in somebody like Ketel Marte. Unfortunately, the Yankees have a lot of money committed to Aaron Hicks, and he is a switch hitter, which is something the Yankees need. So they're banking that he can get better and that he can stay healthy. This is a common theme with the Yankees. They like to make bets that guys will improve or buck trends of being constantly injured. Over the past 3 seasons, Aaron Hicks has played in 145 games total, and over that time, he's batted .223 with 22 home runs, 71 RBIs, 86 walks, and 140 strikeouts. If you look at 145 games, that's a typical season for a Yankee who maybe has one injured list trip throughout the course of the season. So let's say best case scenario, Aaron Hicks has one IL trip next season. He plays in 145 games. That's not a very good season if you take the aggregate of his recent numbers, and I don't see any reason to expect that he's going to get significantly better at age 32. He's had Tommy John surgery, which has limited his ability to throw and taken away one of his main weapons, his very strong throwing arm. Call me skeptical, but this feels like more of the same from the Yankees. Wishing and hoping and praying that guys can return to form instead of actively trying to get better. However, one thing that I do a lot during the offseason is I watch highlights, especially of our minor leaguers, and I've been loving what I'm seeing from 20-year-old Everson Pereira. He dominated single A this year. He is unreal offensively, 20 home runs and 188 at-bats. Defensively, he looks tremendous as well. I predict that he's going to rocket up the minor league ladder next year. We could see a situation where if Aaron Hicks plays about half of the season and then has to go on his annual golfing trip, we could see a young electric center fielder step in. going out on a limb, but Everson Pereira is going to be next year's Anthony Volpe. He's going to be a guy that everybody knows of and everybody wants to see in the Bronx by the end of the season. He's going to rocket up the system. Watch for him. If you follow the Yankees closely, by now you've heard that close family friends are saying that Anthony Rizzo is likely to return to the Yankees at first base, that he loved playing in New York, that he wants to come back. They love some of the added dimensions that he gave them. Good defense, left-handed contact hitter. Didn't hit for a great average, but he puts the bat on the ball, only struck out 87 times. More on that in a minute. They love what he gave them defensively. He's a known quantity. He's pretty durable. He's played in at least 140 games in every season since 2013, with the exception of 2020, in which he played in 58 of 60 games. So he's very durable, which is something the Yankees could use. He hit .325 versus left-handed pitchers this season. I was surprised to see that his D-WAR was actually negative, and is actually negative for his career. But that might be one of those instances where the computers are just flat out wrong. He passes the eye test as a first baseman. This should put to rest the rumors and speculation about Matt Olson, or it could be a leaked story used to lower the asking price for Matt Olson. We all know that the sports media can sometimes be used as a messaging service or quote-unquote mouthpiece for front offices to create more beneficial negotiation conditions. But in this instance, I believe the media here. So what's it going to cost to sign Rizzo? Well, he made $16.5 million in 2021, and nobody likes to get a pay cut, so he's going to ask for 17 plus for sure. The Yankees aren't going to want to spend that much. They're probably going to counter at 12 or 13 million, and I think eventually if both sides are wanting to reunite, they'll settle in on somewhere like 4 years, 60 million, 5 years, 75 million, maybe an option year in there with a guaranteed buyout to kind of make the contract even out a little bit. But given his durability, I have no issue with a 4-year contract for Rizzo. And given his long history of being consistent, it's certainly possible that he gets better and better at using Yankee Stadium to his advantage over the next few years. He's still young enough to have a couple of really good years in him. One more thing I love about Rizzo is that he hasn't struck out more than 100 times in a season since 2016, and he struck out just 87 times this year, as I mentioned. He posted a 111 OPS and is a 4-time Gold Glove winner, 3-time All-Star, and 2016 World Series champion with the Chicago Cubs. Corey Seager is apparently on the Yankees' radar, but he is not going to come cheap. Jim Bowden is reporting that the 28-year-old Dodgers shortstop is going to be seeking a 10 to 12-year deal worth north of $300 million. Look, Seager's a good offensive player, and I'm sure he would do a hell of a job with the Yankees, but he had a pretty bad postseason defensively, especially in the NLCS versus the Braves. He also didn't do himself any favors by hitting 188 in 12 postseason games this year. I don't want to sound negative, but he also played in 100 or more games just 3 times in 7 years. That's not the type of player you give out a 10-year or a 12-year, $300 million contract to. I'm sorry, that would be a bad move. That would be a disastrous contract waiting to happen. Seager would actually be a perfect fit for Yankee Stadium and an overly right-handed Yankees lineup. He makes contact, his power numbers would probably go up as well, but given his defensive struggles, it's hard to justify that kind of contract, even if you're shifting him over to third base. It's possible that the Yankees could play him at shortstop for one season and then shift him over when Peraza or Anthony Volpe is ready, but still, another $30 million contract for somebody who has issues staying on the field? I would rather let one of the young kids play shortstop and have a bad season as they adjust to the major leagues than hand out an enormous contract to somebody like that. This might be the scariest thing I've heard this Halloween season. Stay tuned all winter long for more updates. If I've earned it, please drop a like and subscribe, and be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss any Yankees breaking news this winter. I will see you next time.